Today, a history of war.
The Vietcong were the main communist fighting force in Vietnam. Compared to the Americans, they didn't have aircraft, tanks or artillery of their own. The Vietcong used guerrilla tactics to defeat the Americans. Guerrilla warfare is when you use knowledge of the landscape to launch surprise attacks on the enemy. By doing this, you avoid open battle with the enemy, allowing you to inflict more damage with fewer men. The Vietcong were very familiar with Vietnamese terrain. This is because they had fought the Japanese and the French after World War II. The Vietcong heavily used tunnels, the most famous one being the Cu Chi tunnels. They stretched over 75 miles long. For the communists, life in the tunnels was difficult. They had limited supplies, with vermin making their life even harder. Despite this, the underground networks had a complex system of housing, hospitals, and even cinemas where the soldiers spent a lot of time in. The US had a special team called the Tunnel Rats, whose job was to clear the tunnels. The Vietcong set up defensive measures such as spider holes, tripwire grenades, and a classic pit with spikes. These were very effective, and many US soldiers lost their lives in the tunnels. Outside of the tunnels, the Vietcong also had the support of the people. The communists would help the peasants with their daily work, and also promise them land, more wealth, and freedom. The Americans could not tell who was a Vietcong and who was not. The Vietcong took advantage of this and would often disguise themselves as civilians. In some cases, they even pretended to be nuns. This allowed them to ambush US soldiers when they least expected it. Because they didn't know who was who, the Americans sometimes killed civilians. This increased the popular support of the Vietcong and shifted the balance in favor of the communists. The Vietcong had less advanced weapons. They mainly used the AK-47, which was more reliable in the jungle environment than the American M16. The communists also used Strela II rocket launchers. This posed a large threat to American helicopters and planes. The Soviet Union, which was sponsoring the Vietcong, gave the Communist forces World War II-era weapons. Iconic firearms such as the MP-40, MG-34, and even the Tommy gun could be seen in VC hands. Despite the improvised nature of these tactics, the Vietcong were successful in their campaign against the US. In 1973, the last US unit left Vietnam. That's all for today, guys. I hope you like it and see you next time.